So I would like to thank Dee Dee Landers, who helped organize the event months in advance, Sue Godwin and Sherry Greathouse, who were really here all day and put the blood, sweat, and tears into this. So if you would, give them a round of applause for the work that they did. Definitely can't go without thanking some of our kiddos who are here tonight that are working. They didn't have to be here, but they do it out of the goodness of their heart, and they love what they do. I'd like to thank our yearbook staff for being here to take pictures. They will also provide pictures for you free of charge if you'll just give them an email after the event. I'd also like to thank TigerVision, led by Ms. Parasoto and Mr. Wicks, for broadcasting tonight. So thank you, TigerVision crew and yearbook staff. Appreciate you. This event is a joint effort, and it's a joint effort between our Fort Gibson Education Foundation, our Fort Gibson School Board, administrators, teachers, and staff of our great school system, Fort Gibson Public Schools. But it doesn't happen if we don't have vendors that step forward and sponsor this event. So at this time, I would like to recognize those who made generous contributions to fund tonight's event. All Red Glass, Young Family Foundation, Butto D. Perry, Charlie's Chicken, Garrett Funeral Home, Harp's Food Stores, Indian Capital Technology Center, Century 21 Clinkenbeard Agency, Renfro Electric, Serve Pro, TJ and Stacy Ellis, York Street Tires, Bullseye Wealth Management, Daryl and Sue Godwin, Fort Gibson Tag Agency, Tom and Sandy Stiles, Fort Quick Stop, Graber and Associates, Northeastern Health Systems. We'd like to thank you all for your generous contribution. Please give them a round of applause for making tonight happen. You know, our core purpose tonight is to recognize our academic scholars who have met the highest bar in achieving a strong GPA and a great ACT score. But tonight we also get to recognize a few teachers who have made a major impact on the lives of these kids and have been selected as Teacher of the Year. But we also are very honored to get to hear from a graduate of Fort Gibson Public Schools, a 2000 graduate, and also an inductee to the Fort Gibson Hall of Fame in 2017. So before we recognize our scholars tonight, it's a privilege to introduce Miss Sarah Forhetz, who will be speaking to us tonight. Sarah is with global faith-based humanitarian organization Convoy of Hope. She recently joined the Convoy team as national spokesperson and lead reporter. Before coming to Convoy, Sarah spent 17 years as an Emmy award-winning television news reporter and anchor. Sarah is also a wife and a homeschool mother of 3 kids. She loves to swim, bike, and run, and often competes in triathlons. But most of all, Sarah is a fervent follower of Jesus Christ. She speaks to leaders in churches all across the country and around the world. She is passionate about helping others walk fully to their calling and encourages everyone to mentor someone. Again, she was valedictorian of the class of 2000 for Fort Gibson Public Schools and a 2017 inductee to the Fort Gibson Hall of Fame. Please welcome Sarah Forhetz.
Thank you so much. The food was wonderful. Thank you to everyone who had a hand in putting this night on. It is an honor to be here. I have several friends in the room, people that I graduated with in the room who are now your principal, Todd Friend, wherever you are. It's just so awesome to be back home. This is, Fort Gibson is my home. I was born and raised in this town and still have a lot of friends who I still come back and see. I don't know, Mrs. Austin, do you guys, anyone know Ruby? Ruby Austin, yeah, she's my best friend. So it's been such a neat time to not live too far away. I'm in Springfield, Missouri now, but be able to come back and see new faces and old faces alike and really just reconnect with people. What an exciting time it is for you seniors who are getting ready to fly the coop. It's amazing. And you are coming out of a school that has taught you a thing or two about what success looks like, because you have mentors and teachers and coaches and friends and family members, all who are cheering you on. But I want to talk to you tonight a little bit about failure, because everyone will pass failure on the way to success. So just by show of hands, are there any grandparents or parents who can testify that you have failed at something, but it made you better in the end, right? Raise your hand. See, you're in good company, seniors. And you're like, wait, I thought that this was like a motivational speech. But the reality is that failure is not fatal. It is not fatal. It depends much on your reaction to it. If you can react well to failure, you will wind up being quite successful in whatever it is that you set your mind to. I have some examples for you and some quotes from some of the most powerful people in the world who know a thing about success, but who also passed failure on the way to get there. Here's one. It says, "There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." That's former Secretary of State Colin Powell said that one. "Failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently." Henry Ford said that. Of course, he had to begin again and again on his way to becoming the founder of the American car and inventor of the assembly line. How about this one? "You always will pass failure on the way to success." You know who said that? Mickey Rooney. He's an actor that you've never heard of. Just ask your grandparents, ask your parents, they will know. And this one, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is courage to continue that counts." That's Sir Winston Churchill, British Prime Minister during World War II. And consider this, a couple of examples of failure that really led to a person's success. And sometimes we forget that everyone started at the bottom and had to work their way up. So as you're getting ready to exit this town and go on to the better and greater things of life, you need to know that a lot of people who have come before you have lost. He lost his run for state legislature. He lost his run for the U.S. House. He lost his run for the U.S. Senate twice. And he lost his run for vice president. But Abraham Lincoln persevered. There's something to perseverance. He went on to become the 16th president of the United States and to lead this country through one of the most horrific times in history, the Civil War. But he goes down as one of the greatest presidents of all time. Why? Because he understood that failure is not fatal and it doesn't have to be final either. It depends on how you react to it. In my TV career, I have mentored a lot of people. I started in Oklahoma State University. That was my first little on-campus TV job. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., and then to Dallas. And my latest stop was in Springfield, Missouri, and that's where I met my husband and now have 3 children, ages 9, 10, and 12. They're getting ready to be 9, 11, and 13. So we have planted ourselves there. And so I've been at the station, the NBC affiliate, for a long time, and I've seen interns come and go, young reporters come and go. And there's something interesting about the ones who understand failure and understand that it's a part of success. There's a girl that I used to mentor. Her name is Lexi. And there are very few openings in television, so it feels like a very competitive industry because there's not that many openings. So when there is one, a promotion to be had, everyone applies for it. So all of a sudden, the people that you really want to be friends with are now your competitors. And this girl, Lexi, she was like, you know what? I can't anchor yet. I don't have the experience that it takes. And I'm like, you need to apply. You need to apply. And she was like, but I won't get it. And I'm like, right, but you need to apply because you need to show them that you're serious about working your way up in the industry. You need to show the boss that you have dreams and you have aspirations. And even though you're not ready today, you have to start somewhere. So sure enough, she applied and she didn't get it. And the one thing that she doesn't have in common with the rest of the reporters who also applied is they didn't get it either. And she continued to work at it, though, even though there was no, promotion on the table, so to speak, for more years to come, because once someone gets locked into a position, they're probably going to be there for about 5 years because they're under a contract. But she is intelligent because she understood a thing or two about that failure, that if she ever wanted to turn that into a success, it would take perseverance. It would take getting up and doing it again. And so the very next weekend after that position was announced, none of the other reporters who failed at it came in. but she was in. And I said, hey, what are you doing here on a weekend? And she was like, well, I said, is there breaking news or something? Like, are you headed out? She was like, no, I was just going to see, is the show over yet? And I'm like, yeah, like it's getting ready to wrap up, We're looking at the time. And she's like fully dressed, full makeup, full hair. And that's most television people, when they are not on TV, are like in sweatpants with zero makeup. And so she comes in like fully ready to go. And I'm like, are you going to like an interview or something? What are you doing? And she said, well, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to go out there and rehearse. And I was like, wow. So she had talked in the camera operator, the director, the teleprompter guy. Like, she had talked all these people into volunteering their time so that she could run through the show. I played for Coach Walker, Jerry Walker. He was the best. But he used to say, success happens at the free throw line. So we would practice free throws after every single practice. We were exhausted, and we would shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot some more. And you know what? Then we didn't miss the game-winning shot whenever it mattered. And that was this girl, Lexi. She would come in time and time and time again, every single weekend, early in the morning, full makeup, full hair, full dress, to go nowhere, to be in front of no one. But she would sit at that anchor desk, buy her coworkers a coffee for their time, and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, because she understood that if she wanted to turn the failure into success, you had to be working hard behind the scenes. Some of you coming out of Fort Gibson, it's like, it's not really been that hard necessarily. Like, for me, I studied in school for sure, but it also came kind of naturally. Like, it didn't rule my life, the studying. But as I came out and went from being valedictorian in May and then starting college in August, my very first test, I made a 42. And I was like, what just happened? Like, this used to be so simple for me. And I had to maintain a certain GPA as well. So what did I do? I hired a tutor, because I'm like, I'm not too prideful to hire a tutor and to put in that work that it takes to be successful behind the scenes. Recently, Lexi, the girl that I used to mentor, landed a big anchor job out in Nashville. And it has been such a joy for me to be able to watch her and for everyone else to go, how did she get that? How did she get that? How did she get that? You know how she got that? Because she didn't sleep in a single weekend. Every single weekend, from that moment she failed, she was there practicing and rehearsing and day in and day out, putting in the time to get better. The same is true of Abraham Lincoln. He didn't stop with his first loss. He tried again and again and again and again twice, and then he became president. Because failure does not have to be fatal or final, but it does have to be something that you will learn and grow through the process. I know that in my own life, the people that come to mind, tonight we're honoring some teachers who have been influential in your life. And there is a woman who I barely know, but who for me invested in me at a time that was critical to seeing me achieve my goal, and I will never forget her. Her name is Terry. Several years ago, a friend of mine called and said, hey, would you mind doing this long-distance triathlon with me? And I'd done like little short triathlons, but I'd never done an Ironman. And I was like, that feels like a full-time job. Like, I already have a full-time job and children. I don't know that I'm interested in that. And my friend was like, well, think about it, pray about it, see what you think. Like, I would love, love, love for you to sign up with me. So fast forward a couple weeks, I talk it over with my husband, think about it, pray about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I sign up, and then begins the training. And it was one of those things where I knew I had the green light to go forward with this. So by all accounts, I was expecting like this fantastic race because I felt physically prepared. And so I get on to the shore of Lake Erie, which, by the way, if you've not been to the Great Lakes, it might as well be the ocean, which my husband laughed at me because he lived in Michigan forever. And when we arrived that morning, I was like, this looks like the ocean. And like, I was like about to hyperventilate in the water. And my wetsuit felt like it was entirely too tight, and I couldn't breathe all of a sudden, and I'm freaking out. And he was like, yeah, it's the Great Lakes, Sarah. This is not like Table Rock Lake. This is the Great Lakes. Like this, you're not at Tin Killer anymore. And so I set off into what feels like the ocean, and there had been a storm around like 2 o'clock that same morning, so the waves were massively huge, and I'm floating out there in my wetsuit. Thankfully that I had that on because it works sort of like a life jacket, and I'm like feeling going into this thing like I'm completely prepared for it, but like 200 yards into a 2-mile swim, I feel like I'm about to drown. And there are those moments in life where you feel like you're called to something, like, yes, I'm going to major in nursing, I'm going to major in teaching, I'm going to major in engineering. And then you get a couple of months into whatever it is that you've committed to, and you feel like, I'm drowning. These waves are massively huge, and they are about to take me under. What was I thinking? Maybe I didn't hear right. Maybe this was a bad idea. And you start to question and doubt everything that you thought previously. But can I tell you, do not doubt in the darkness what God revealed to you in the light. If you know you have the green light to be studying whatever it is, just because you make a 42 on your first exam doesn't mean that you need to go change your major. It means that you need a support system around you. So I'm sitting here in the water, looking back at the shore and looking at the finish line, and I'm like, I really want to swim back to the shore and quit because I feel like I'm about to puke because I'm so seasick. But at this point, I'm as far from the shore as I am from the finish line. I might as well just finish. So I get out of the water, get onto the bike, take off, and I'm like going, what in the world was that? Like, is anyone else feeling like they're about to drown? And everyone, I mean, misery loves company. We were all starting on the bike feeling like that was the worst swim of our entire lives. So I get through the bike and all is well, and then I get onto the run, the last leg of the race, and I'm running. And all of a sudden, I'm realizing, like, I don't see any other people. Like, everyone had thinned out so much on the bike that I'm, like, going, I hope I'm still on the right course. I hope that, like, I didn't take a wrong turn. I am directionally challenged. In fact, I grew up in Fort Gibson, but we went to church in Muskogee. And I can remember my mom, when I turned 16, she was like, can you meet me at the church? And I was like, I don't know how to get to the church. She's like, you've been going to the church since you were, like, 2. That's the truth. Like, I am super directionally challenged. Thank you, Google Maps. I don't know what I did before I had a cell phone because I didn't grow up with one like you all did. So anyway, though, I'm on the run, and my goal was just to finish strong and to not walk at all. And so I start walking because I'm not convinced that I'm on the right course anymore. And I'm like, I'm not going to like speed in the wrong direction. So I just started walking, and I'm like, man, I thought I was called to this. I thought I could finish this strong. I thought I was physically prepared. I thought that I could do this. I thought I had the green light. And I'm just like mentally digressing and going into this spiral. And all of a sudden, I hear this woman say, hey. And I just keep going because I'm not convinced she's talking to me yet. Hey, you. And I'm like, me? So I like turn around, and I'm like, what? Because she's kind of tacky, you know? She's a little bit, she's like yelling at me. And I said, what's the problem? She said, why are you walking? And I said, I don't even know if I'm on the right course. Like, I'm glad to see you, but why are you yelling at me? Like, this is my race, lady. And you do you, and let me do me. And she was like, no, nobody starts walking 1 mile from the finish line. And I'm like, we're 1 mile from the finish line? Oh my goodness, like I was so excited. She said, yeah. And I was like, well, I stopped my watch somewhere along the way on accident, and I had no clue that we were 1 mile from the finish line. And she said, well, nobody would start walking if they knew that they were 1 mile from the finish line. It's just around the bend. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And so we start running together, and all of a sudden I have a new skip in my step. And I'm like going at like a slower pace than I normally would because I'm exhausted by this point. I've been out there for 6 hours. And she was like, come on, is that all you got? And she was a little tacky, but I really appreciated her. And so we start running in, and she said, just so you know, I have been pacing myself off of you this entire race. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I sized you up on the shore and saw you get into the water, and I was just following your yellow swim cap. And it was so interesting because in a race where I felt like I was floundering and I felt like I was failing, she was pacing herself off me. And I just want you to know that there will be people in life who will be pacing themselves off you. They will be watching how you run your race. They will be watching how you react and how you respond when you get laid off. for the first time. They will be watching what it looks like whenever you wind up in some unexpected circumstance, like failing at this anchor job that you didn't get the promotion. They're going to be watching you, and they're going to watch you rise from that, or they're going to watch you lay down and never get back up again. So you have a choice on how you are going to finish, because some of you are only a mile from your finish line, and you don't know it because you can't see it. But it is just around the bend. And some of us in this room need to be that Terry. We're in a good season, all is well. We need to run alongside those who've slowed down to a walk. We need to run alongside those who feel like they are drowning because they all of a sudden are questioning the call on their life and feeling like they might be moving in the wrong direction. Everybody needs a cheerleader, and everybody needs to be a cheerleader. So who in your life are you running alongside? Who right now could you think of that you could run alongside them and help them along? Not judge them for walking slowly, not criticize them because they're not going quite at the pace you want them to, but come alongside them and say, let me do this with you. Let me run this with you. Because if you will be an encourager and a cheerleader, then at your darkest moment, someone will come alongside you and cheer you on to the end, cheer you on to that finish line. So whenever you are considering what success looks like, and what failure looks like. You may be feeling at the top of your game right now, and you absolutely should. But there is coming a day, there's coming a season where you're not going to get it. You're not going to be chosen. You're not going to be the one. And I want to encourage you to surround yourself with people who you can be accountable to and vulnerable with. Because accountability and vulnerability will get you to the finish line well. And it will also be the joy of your life to watch people who are struggling along the way, and you come alongside them and you start putting your hand on their back and you give them the momentum that they need to finish well. I hope that every one of you in this room will say, you know what? I'm going to start running alongside someone. Maybe you're the senior sitting in that seat and you can think of some classmate who's just struggling. Like all is going well for you and your grades, but they're sitting here going, I hope I get to graduate. How can you encourage them along the journey? How can you come alongside them? How could you help tutor them? How could you help them finish their race stronger with you? Because it's not a competition. It's not a competition. There is enough room for every single person. But we are to cheerlead and champion those around us. And we are to make sure that we have good systems in place with accountability, with vulnerability, because all of a sudden, many of you will be gone from your parents for the very first time. And you need that friend in your life. For me, it was Ruby, still is. We're almost 40 years old, and she can still call me and be like, what are you thinking? That's a horrible idea. And I can do the same for her. Everybody needs that someone. So I hope when you consider what success looks like, you remember that if you are an encourager, if you are a champion of those people around you, they will look at you and they will remember you as a success no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter vocationally how much you achieve. If you are an encourager, you are successful. Thanks for your time tonight. Congratulations to all of you. You have so much to be proud of, and I'm really honored that you guys invited me tonight. Thanks.
That was amazing. It just makes me proud to be a Tiger. Once a Tiger, always a Tiger, right, Sarah? There we go. Yeah, thank you for making the trip down. Thank you for sharing and imparting that wisdom in us, and thank you for just representing yourself, your Lord, and this great school system and all that you do. When our red and white scholars were notified that they were going to be honored tonight, they all listed and identified a teacher that was influential in their success. And as a teacher myself, I really don't know that there's a greater feeling than knowing that you had a great impact on somebody that was in your classroom. And so we're going to recognize those teachers of influence tonight. And as I call your name, teachers, just please stand at your seat. And then at the conclusion of tonight's ceremony, we have a packet over on the table by Mr. Wicks over there that has the words that our red and white scholars wrote to you. So wait till you get home to read them, because I guarantee you there'll be a lot of tears in the eyes when you read them. So first, Tammy Acuff. please stand and remain standing. We'll hold our applause till the end. Heather Adney. Tim Barris. Billy Bethel. Lori Botcher. Beth Brannon. Andrea Dennison. Taylor Dethridge. Todd Dickerson. Cassandra Edwards. Emily Farmer. Todd Friend. Carmen Garrett. Sherry Godwin. Mike Rowe. Kelly Rowan. Linnell Spires. Jennifer Thompson. Jake Tolbert. And Melanie Wicks. Please give these teachers of influence a big round of applause. There is no doubt that the impact you've had on these students will echo for generations, and it truly makes education the greatest profession, maybe short of the clergy, on the face of the earth. At this time, that was for you, Sean. At this time, I would like to ask our red and white scholars to make their way to the hallway right behind me, guys, so we can prepare to present stoles to all of our scholars. While they are getting ready, I would like to invite Mr. Barry Steveson to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the Education Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. I have the privilege to serve as the president of the Fort Gibson Education Foundation. I'm going to take a moment and tell you guys a little bit about it. The Fort Gibson Education Foundation is a nonprofit organization established in 2003 for the purpose of collecting and distributing private contributions from individuals, corporations, and foundations to benefit students in the Fort Gibson Public School District. It is the foundation's desire to help Fort Gibson students receive the best possible education our community can provide. We strive to be the highest quality education system in the state. With this in mind, I'm going to lift a few things that the foundation donates to and supports every year. The Robotics Program, the Professional Development Multimedia Program, TigerVision on FortGibsonTigers.tv, the Junior Achievement Business Program, and teacher classroom grants totaling over $30,000 this year alone. I'd like to take a moment here to recognize the current members of our foundation board. If you're here in attendance, I ask that you please stand. We're going to hold our applause to the end. Sherry Greathouse, Brandon Fouch, John Shaw, Sue Godwin, Joe Hogan, Steve Klinkenbeard, Jeff Skaggs, and Daniel Miller. If you'll please give them a round of applause. Thank you, members. You can take a seat. So if you'd like to have more information about the foundation and the impact it has on our great school system, please reach out to one of the board members or myself, and we will gladly talk with you on how we can continue to grow the foundation and serve our community and kids to the greatest extent possible. Mr. Farmer, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and we'll bring in our red and white scholars shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Steveson. And Mr. Steveson, thank you for your service on the foundation board. The foundation, I'd just like to say a couple words on how critical it is for our school district. This year alone, this foundation and their fundraising efforts raised over $30,000 that went directly back into the classroom in the form of teacher grants. And that number tends to grow every year. So thank you for leading those efforts, and thank you, Foundation, for the work you do to make Fort Gibson a premier place to be. Fort Gibson Public Schools across the state has a reputation of excellence, and that is a direct result of the stability that we have in our school district board of education. At this time, I'd like to recognize our school board members. If you would, please stand, and we'll hold our applause to the end. Larry Sand, President. Jennifer Rouse, Vice President. Scott Abbott, Clerk. Jill, thank you for making him look presentable tonight. Appreciate that. Haley Norman, Member. And Josh Young, Member. Please give these folks a round of applause. You saw a recognition earlier in our Teachers of Influence, and master teachers are where the rubber meets the road in a school system. We are fortunate to have some of the best in the state, and we are going to recognize our Teachers of the Year at this time. These Teachers of the Year are actually elected in the fall and will serve as the 2022 and 2023 Teachers of the Year because they will compete at the state level during next school year. So as I call your names by sight, please stand to be recognized. Early Learning Center Teacher of the Year, Morgan Parker. Intermediate Elementary Teacher of the Year and District Teacher of the Year, Miss Felicia Wallace. Middle School Teacher of the Year, Sarah Hyde. High School Teacher of the Year, Emily Farmer. These teachers were elected by their peers at the sites, and then a community member panel came forward and selected the District Teacher of the Year. So Ms. Wallace, good luck. Let's go win State Teacher of the Year contest. Teachers, as you exit tonight, you too have an envelope over on the table by Mr. Wicks. The Education Foundation has made a generous donation to you. Go take your kids out for dinner sometime, so they've got a little bit of money for you. Okay, folks, I think we're getting ready to start what we're all here for. I would like to explain the process of selecting red and white scholars. Fort Gibson Schools is known to have high standards, and as you will see, with the number of students that reach this high mark, we do have remarkable children in this school system. To be a white scholar, the student must have over a 3.5 grade point average as well as score a 22 on the ACT. To achieve red scholar status, the student must have above a 4.0 GPA and they must have scored a 25 or above on the ACT college admission test. Folks, we have 141 seniors, and we have 23 white scholars and 15 red scholars. This is a great testament to the quality of these students and the great work by their teachers. Now at this time, let's honor our red and white scholars. Please remain seated as the scholars enter the room, and hold your applause until all of them have been recognized. There will be some time after the program to take pictures, plus our yearbook staff will go ahead and snap a picture of the stoles that are being placed on your kiddos. Email one of us at the office and we'll make sure you get a picture of that sent to you. Okay, we will begin with our white scholars. Garrett William Abel. Hagen Riley Backus. Jackson Cole Blunt. Hunter Thomas Bridges. Ethan Benton Briggs. Caitlin Aubrey Serda Ortiz. Cade Ryan Clayton. Claire Marie Downey. Melody Grace Evans. William Eli Philman. Aiden Joseph Floyd. Carson Boyd Garrett. Cameron Isaiah Hawes. Jordan Lee Hayes. James Lansing Kimball. Logan Bryn Milligan. Gentry Kaylin Novotny. Aurora Victoria Peterson. Turner Lee Pruitt. Lydia Michelle Schultz. Macy Montana Young. And now for the recognition of our Red Scholars. Caden Payne Cooper. Grant Hartzell Edwards. Zachary David Hardy. Katie Elizabeth Hill. Mason Alexander Hopfer. Lane Michael Howard. Elijah David Johnston. Peyton Edward Kilgore. Sinjin Kirk Lowry. Kiersey Auburn Maxey. Landry Elizabeth Moydell. Joseph Ryan Neves. Sydney Lynn Taylor. Sydney Ann Terry. Cody Reese Walking Stick. Ladies and gentlemen, what an outstanding group of students. Please stand and give them a round of applause. Thank you for attending tonight. Thank you for entrusting your children to us. Teachers, thank you for making Fort Gibson the best school in the state. We have one last request. I would like all of our red and white scholars to come here to the center. Miss Sarah Forhetz, would you join them? Teachers of influence, it's going to be a big picture up here as well. Teachers of the year up here. One group picture with all of our scholars, please, and then we'll be dismissed. Thank you. Have a great evening.